Good morning, everybody, and happy Thursday. I'm also still noticing I'm not quite getting the opening credits music going like I wanted it to. That's very strange. Well, it's a wonderful Thursday today, and all is going well. We've still got sort of the setup here, but I'm noticing that my camera seems to still be tilted. I don't know which way to get my... It's kind of interesting because of the perspective of everything here versus everything here and versus everything here. It's like, which line should I be following with my camera to make it like this so that that looks more level? Maybe that's probably better. Good morning, Brent. How are you this morning? I'm trying to decide which looks better here on the leveling thing. I have this really cool little level that came with my with the strut that holds the monitor, and I've been thinking about like gluing this to the front of my camera so that I can. But then I discovered that my camera is on a platform which is hinged, and then it's on a ball joint. So it could do this or do this or do it could, you know, making sure that the hinge is straight doesn't mean the camera is straight, which explains why I'm looking at the platform. The platform looks like it's like this, but looking at the actual picture going along here and tracing its line, it looks more level now. But I think that's because the platform is down, but the camera is tilted this way. So I don't know. So maybe what I need to do is stick this thing on top of the actual camera itself and come up with its exact middle line. There's a light and a microphone, you know, on either side of, so I could probably draw a midline through the middle of it and put this then T to that on the top of it. But I'd have to pull the camera off of its mount and work on it from there. I actually purchased this camera because it has a standard standard mount for a camera. So it's a webcam, but most webcams like this guy here, all they come with is a thing to hook it on a monitor, and that's its whole thing. Is this? There's no way to mount it to a tripod or anything, so you have to sit it on a tripod and hope it doesn't topple off or slide sideways or, you know, all of those things. And in order to actually get it to stay on my monitor, because as cute as this is, these monitors are thinner. In order to get it to stay up on that monitor like that, the only way to do that is to tape it down. Otherwise, the first time you shake the table, it falls right off. So not a really brilliant design. So I specifically went looking whenever I got this guy. I went looking specifically for one that actually has a real camera on it. So you can screw it into the camera mount. There's your message for the day. All right. I'm still not sure. Were you here, Brent, for the opening credits? Did you hear any music for it? Because I'm not seeing I didn't see the monitor on here moving during the opening credits, and I didn't see it during the closing credits yesterday, and I forgot until right now that was one of the things I wanted to do. And so I had forgotten about that. And so anyway, I don't know if you saw any music or anything. Or heard. I guess you don't see music. Well, I guess you could see music. Anyway, you heard it. No audio in the opening. Yeah, I'm not getting, that's what I figured. That's what I worried about. It's on the audio mixer's monitor here, but it's not on the mixer's monitor there. Whereas now that I'm on my mixer, I'm seeing the mixer and the audio mixer here and there. So I'm wondering what makes video playback not work. That's very strange. No, I'll have to figure that out, I guess. I'll have to find out why it's doing that. Okay, today we've got to work on illustration 8 for Airship 27. But first, as we usually do, it's time to go warm up. So let's go over to the other table, the other desk, which doesn't have George today. But you can tell George has been here because it's crooked. He's at least consistent, right? Let's try to de-crooked this a little. There we go. A little better. Not perfect. It's kind of hard to get this to maneuver because there's only 3 ways of access that I've got on here. Okay. So as we do every morning, we take just a normal ruler. I use an engineering scale. And in fact, I use one that has my dad's name on it because this was once my father's engineering scale when he was working as an engineer in various industries back in the day. So I was over at his house this last month, and I pilfered his engineering scale. So take the engineering scale and we put it on here, and we just draw a couple of short lines. You don't have to have an engineering scale. I just happen to like my engineering scale. The primary reason, by the way, that I use an engineering scale is it makes a good straight edge that you can pick up. It's very good to pick up an engineering scale. I have a harder time when the ruler's flat. You have to try to get your fingernails underneath it, and there's a problem. Okay, so then a couple of long lines like so, and then we'll make some start and end. Start and end. I'll do 3 of them this time. And I actually did not, in fact, go look for my my French curves. So I'll just take a roll of tape here, and I'll trace around it. We're just going to practice circles. You could theoretically take your coffee and do the same thing. This is totally practice, so it doesn't matter. You don't have to be perfect about it. So we take a number, 0.4. These are just normal fade-proof fine lines. I love fine lines for this, and I really think everybody should use fine lines because when you use a fine line, you're doing this becomes sort of a thing that you do. You'll be using fine lines to ink things anyway. So using a fine line is good. You can use a ballpoint if you have to. Okay. Again, we keep the wrist off the table. We keep the elbow off the table. You can guide with your pinky, right? So we put the pin down and we draw as straight a line as we can. Practice 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do the long lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to do the same thing now, except we're going to now move to the destination and the arrival points. Now, this exercise, you start here, but you keep your eyes right here. You don't look at this. You don't follow your pin. You look at your arrival point, right? Same thing here. Don't look at where your pin is. Look at your arrival point. Same thing here. And don't worry if it's not perfect. In fact, I kind of want it to not be perfect. Okay, same thing we're going to do with the circles. I'm really bad at circles. Why I make this happen. I can do straight lines very well. I can't seem to do circles as well. And that's okay. And then today is 3:25. Right? There you go, guys. We've done our bit for King and Country. Warming up. Good to warm up. It's good to warm up. All right. Okay, back to ring camera. Yeah, 0.5 is fine. Anything from a 0.2 all the way to a 0.8 is totally acceptable. Truthfully, you could use a marks a lot marker if you really want to, but it bleeds through the paper like there's no tomorrow, and you'll end up marking up your desk pretty good if you do that. So that's something to think about. You can use anything as long as you're practicing the concept. So I'm not that worried. Saw the picture this morning. Did I post a picture? I don't remember if I posted a picture. I did photography yesterday, so my brain's in photography mode. Anyway, all righty. Righty. Move in here and get close, and then I'm going to grab my pen that was charging yesterday, and I'll swap pens so that this pen's now on the charger. I'm going to put him on the charger. Hey, Blaine, how you doing? Man, what time is it there? Actually, I can tell you what time it is there. It is, it's midnight. Oh, yeah, George being a stoppage for work. It's midnight there, Blaine. What you doing up at midnight? Oh, it's good to see you, though. Yep. I guess my show runs from midnight to 2 a.m. in Japan. Who knew? Yeah, just after midnight. Well, it's good to see you on the show. It's good to see you. Blaine is a buddy of mine from, yeah, you're just chilling, just hanging out. You have a buddy of mine in Japan. And so, and he and I worked together while we were over there teaching, although we didn't work in the same school, but we worked in the same, I guess you could say district. I guess I would consider Moria and Bondo to be sort of in the same district. Yep, and it's about the same, I think, for all of Japan. Yes, but I think it's, yeah. Well, if our Congress has their way, they actually might get rid of daylight savings time this time. Or have us have a permanent daylight savings time. Either way, there's a bill going through now for getting rid of daylight savings time so that we can stop being confused as to whether we're 13 hours or 12 hours or 15 hours or 92 hours or whatever. So that's always a thing. But yeah, it's good to see you, Blaine. So Brent is a buddy of mine, and he was stationed in Okinawa, and that's what he's referring to. I guess I always wonder whether, we should say that we were stationed. Like, sometimes it felt like it was a war. Yeah, junior high can always feel like it's a war. It's a thing. So yeah, so you're just hanging out and watching the show, huh? Well, I'm going to get over here and get back to work on this piece that I've been working on. So you can join. You can just keep talking. I actually have rearranged my monitors so that I can read what's set on the screen here while doing my work. That was what I did at the beginning of the week. So I'm going to go on ahead and switch to my monitor. You can see now, you can still see me. I'm down here. And I'm going to be working right there. So this is a piece that I'm working on for a guy named Ron Fortier. He was or he used to work with, I don't know who he worked for. I want something like Image or a larger imprint. He worked with Alex Ross doing the Terminator series in the 80s and Green Hornet a little later on. And now he is working in Fort Collins, and he's got a small group of artists that he's got together who do various illustrations for his company now, which is called Airship 27. And what he does now is like those pulp novels. So they've got mostly prose, mostly writing, but every so often they have illustrations. And he has tapped me to do the illustrations for a book called The Silver Pentacle, which is what I'm working on right now. So this is the drawing that I'm kind of working on here. And I'm doing the last bits of what we call the blue line work, which is where we work on just putting in the blue before we put in the ink. And so that's what I'm kind of working on now. I'm going to look at this here, and what I feel like is happening is her helmet is just slightly cockeyed. So I'm going to select it, and we're going to take this, and we're going to go edit and transform. And we're going to, if we do free transform, I get all of my handles, so I can change everything here. But I'm feeling kind of like this is more what we've got going on here. I want this to line up more with her eyes. So yeah, I feel like Brent, anytime we look back at our historical selves, it always feels like an easier time. Although I do feel like my time in Japan was legitimately an easier time. It was before I had a kid, so logical. Kids complicate stuff. And I'm happy that my life has been complicated by my kid. He's a good kid. But, you know, it is more complicated. I'm going to put more hair kind of coming out of the bottom of this helmet here. Kind of do that a bit there. So, yeah, but I always think, you know, when I was a kid, like, right, because you were in the Marines, they paid everything for you. You know, all of your bills were paid, your rent was paid, so to speak. And, you know, life was relatively easy. I get that. And honestly, even when I was working in Japan, we made enough money that we covered all of our bills. We didn't always make enough money to have a lot of extra stuff, certainly, but we made enough to pay all of the bills. That was at least cool. My wife made enough money that she ultimately paid off her entire school loans, all of her school loans. So that was actually pretty impressive. She paid them all off while she was in Japan. And that was one of those still kind of cool things that we talk about today. So it is kind of cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've been hearing a lot of. Blaine's talking about current teachers that work there now are not doing so well. He's not a teacher anymore, Blaine isn't. You know, he works in a different place, which is cool. He's still, you know, obviously still in Japan. Oh, yeah, absolutely. She is working right now. And the same goes for you, certainly. Something changed over there once we left. And it's interesting because in the post that I had made on Facebook, one of my other friends who's still over there. And I've thought about coming back. But I mean, the truth of the matter is that it's a different world over there. And I couldn't be a teacher anyway. I'm too old now. There's actually an age limit. I'm an old man. They won't let me teach anymore. I obviously do not know English anymore. I'm joking. I joke. However, it was good to talk Blaine for... Oh, no, it's all right. I talk all the time while we talk about all kinds of things here while we're doing this, because it takes some time to draw these drawings and stuff like that. And so we just chat. I did talk Blaine to our mutual friend with the aforementioned young child who's not as small as she used to be. And thinking of coming over here, which is great. And that is going to be cool, because that was one of my biggest concerns, because we had sort of a bummer of a situation occur here in Colorado. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. You too were too good for them, and you're in a much better position right now. So we're gonna have to break these goggles, because she broke the goggles in the scene earlier. So I got to make sure these goggles are all screwed up. And since this is sort of steampunk, I'm going to add extra lenses to the goggles too, because that's always one of the fun things. You know, I really, though, looking back on my time in Japan, I know I was a tape recorder. And we talk a lot about tape recorders, and that's the type of the type of lead Japanese teacher says something, and then you have to read it in English. Steampunk does rock, and that's the kind of teacher that I was. My wife was much more of in charge of her classroom and having to come up with lesson plans and things like that. But I felt like, you know, I did ultimately get into lesson plans but in the very beginning, boy, I was just a tape recorder. And a lot of teachers over there felt like that was a waste of their skills, and I didn't blame them. Later on, when I actually was doing when I was actually having to do all the lesson plan work and things like that, it was a much more difficult job. But even when I was the tape recorder, it was a lot of fun, because I got to concentrate on the kids. You know, making sure that they were doing their work, making sure they were understanding what was going on. And, you know, teachers always talk about the aha moment when they finally realize something, and how much that's such a rewarding thing. It really is. It's very rewarding to have that aha moment with a kid. A kid realizes what we're doing and we're talking about, and it, you know, oh, I get it now. Oh, hey, well, now that's actually a plus. I would have loved to have gotten an actual teacher's license. Which, you know, if I had stuck with it, exactly. We all lived for that aha moment when they finally, I get it. That's so wonderful. A couple more of these lenses up here. And I'm just kind of putting the bend on this here. But yeah, that's such a wonderful time when they're, oh. I still get that from time to time, because I still work with kids over here. You know, I'm working with kids who are homeschooled. And so they were rare, right? But then you'd go home and you'd be talking about that for like weeks, because you'd be like, that was so cool. They understood. They finally got it. It was so rare. I still haven't found my second-year teacher, my favorite teacher. I lost him somewhere along the line. He wanted to keep in touch with me, but then I lost all the contact information with him, and he disappeared. I'm sure he's doing just fine. He was an excellent teacher. He was brand new when I got there, so he and I were the newbies in the school. We bonded over that. He spoke very good English, so because he was young, and he really concentrated hard on his English, and he was a really good guy, and I liked him. Kind of bummed I lost contact with him. He and I both moved at the same time, and so we both didn't keep up by accident with each other and lost track right there, and so there was a connection loss. And so he doesn't know where I live, and I don't know where he lives. So I might, Blaine, I might have to send you in someday to go find him. I'm sure he's still probably somewhere in Ibaraki. And just need to get him my address. So there we go. Actually, that's one of the things I'm hoping we can do relatively soon here is come back to Japan. If we do, we can go hunt down all these people that I would love to see again. Find out where they went, Yeah, I might need your help, though. I know his name and everything, and I'm sure he's still a teacher at a school somewhere. I can't imagine. He's, it's only been 10 years. So, but it's been 10 years, Blaine. It's been 10 years. That's just so weird. Right? I have a newer camera, and it's cooler, and I'm all about this. Oh, man. I've got a T6i that I use now is my regular go-to. Oh, right. That'd be so cool. Photo safaris were a thing that Blaine and I used to do when we were over there. We'd get on the train and head to a spot in Tokyo or somewhere, and we just have our cameras, and we'd go out and take pictures of everything, and then later compare the pictures and go, hey, that's a cool setup. Oh, that's a good one. That's pretty much all we did. But it was awesome for us. We liked it. It was a thing that we enjoyed quite a bit. It's a good sort of thing to do. Put like affixment screws here. There we go. Right. Oh, yeah, I could see that. There are times where I'll read about certain parts of Japan, and I keep thinking, that'd be great for a photo safari. Like somebody did a photo safari in the Fukushima exclusion zone. I thought, not only is that terrifying, and probably I wouldn't do that because it's terrifying, but it does seem like a fascinating, like, that would be interesting, Okay, so I'm just going through now and cleaning up anatomy problems or anything like that to make sure that we've got everything we need here on this particular picture. I kind of feel like I've got a lot of dead space up here. So I kind of want to, I'm thinking, I feel like the helmet should have something else on it. I don't know if I want a comb on it like the Romans had, or horns or something. And so Nikko is beautiful in the fall. Ueno is awesome in the spring. But it's funny because, of course, you and I have gone to Ueno, and while while the trees are gorgeous, obviously, like a mohawk, the thing I love to take pictures of in Ueno is all the people. I love the people who are hanami, who are, flower. Those are my favorite things. I know I'm so weird about that, but let's see what a mohawk kind of looks like, huh? Let's figure it out. Let's see if she looks cool with a mohawk or not. Because the helmet looks Roman. I've got this Roman flair to either sides of this helmet. I don't know. That seems like that's just asking too. That doesn't look as good. Let's try something else. Experimenting here. If I were to, yeah, she looks more like a centurion and she's a pirate. Figure, what would a pirate put on their helmet? Like legitimately, not like a skull and crossbones, which would be obvious. What would be on a pirate's helmet? Like, teeth or something. Wings might be cool. Wings might be really what we're looking for. We might be looking for wings. Let's take a look at that and see what we get. See what that looks like. Doesn't look bad, actually. Gives it a little something. Definitely gives it a different flair. Yeah. Certainly gives her something else going on out here. I'll round that wing off, otherwise she will have broken it off somewhere. Presuming that there we go. Maybe I'll add some plating of some sort out here too. Makes it a little bit more like it's got something going on. It's not just flat. There we go. More like that. Yeah. Just gives it something else, some depth, or yeah, there we go. Some depth to this particular helmet. Now she's looking better. There we go. Yep, there. Okay. That looks better, and it looks more like what we're looking for on this particular character. Now we're gonna make sure he's wearing his vest, because this is our main dude, and puff out his shirt a little. Give it some creases in the fabric here, and make it look a little bit more like it's got something going on. There we go. He doesn't need a whole lot. We know who he is, and so I don't need to work too hard on him. He's been in a picture so far. So do want to make sure, though, that he's put up his hand in a gesture of, hey, don't shoot me, which is important, and I get the hand going the right direction. So we'll go back here and kind of clean that up. There we go. We're just making sure that the fingers are going the right direction. And as I oft say on my show, we have to go back in and fix the anatomy. you spend your life fixing anatomy. And it disturbs me that this person only has 3 fingers. I'm just saying. Even if they are mechanical and claw-like, it still disturbs me. So, okay. We're about ready to start inking this guy up. So, let's take a look here. I'm just getting rid of all of the guides that will lead me astray. So we got to get rid of all of these internal guides on the inside line. Now that I've added lines outside for the clothes, I want to make sure that all of the original anatomy lines disappear, because when I get real close to ink, I will sometimes not see which line I need to actually do with the ink. And since I'm so zoomed in, it's really hard to determine which one's an anatomy line and which one's a clothing line. So I have to be very, very careful when I do this. All right. Now, one of the other things we're going to do is deal with sort of this black or this white area up here. It's just a big open area. So I'm going to go on ahead and head over here, and I'm just going to grab the line tool. And this line tool, I'm just going to add in bits of ship, because they're actually on the deck of the ship upstairs. So there's nothing behind her but open water. So I'm going to have to give the implication of booms like that, or even more, we add, this is a rework. I'm going ahead and delete that. Since we can use layers, one of the things we can always do is add lines on a layer above like this. And that way we know that what it's going to look like on either side. Right? So we put those lines in. We can just go back and erase this all the way to here. You can see it there, so we're not going to erase that part. We'll erase this part like this. And this way we're able to add stuff that's going on behind her without actually having to add anything behind her. We can add rigging pieces and ropes. And I'll know to come back and do this rope correctly in a minute. But for right now, I just want to see what the composition looks like. That looks good. It allows you to move your eye into this area. When we look at the whole picture, you're going to look this way, come back through to here. So it's going to be a loop like this. So this rope will lead your eye down and across and back in. And so that's the way that's what I want whenever we're talking about this. Now, I had said before, this was an angle up. So this guy's a roof mount at this point in time if we're actually dealing with it that way. So I need to make sure that I bring this down. And I'm actually not happy with where this is, because that becomes part of the roof. It should be here. Okay. And that's because this is all on the roof. And we're looking up at our, want to be able to give a guide. That's actually why we do these things in blue. There. Now looking at this composition, I can see that, okay, so that's open air out here. That doesn't hurt this bringing my eye around part, and it's just a railing or a wall or a bulkhead or something that's behind here. It's not important what it is. It's just some aspect of the ship, and we don't have to worry about it. But at least it gives some interest to the blank spots back here, because I'm going to put a gradient back there when we're done. But for right now, it's good. Okay, I'm now ready to start inking. So I'm going to add a raster layer, and we're going to switch to a black pen. Now, I'm going to go to my brushes. I've got this G pen that I really like a lot. The blade size I usually make is an 18-point pen. And that makes it a little easier. We get in close, and like I said, I really want to get in close, and we'll start with the eyes, because that's what everybody's going to be looking at. This is the most important part of a character. Everybody looks at the eyes. So we'll just come back in like this. There we go. Make this a little wider. Through there. I'm giving a little bit of a divot here, bumping up. And that's because she's crazy, and she's, bringing up the bottom parts of her eyes. They're coming up. So we're going to give a little bit of a divot in here for this. There we go. And like I said, we've got weirdness, a little bit of a couple of weird things going on that is very manga style. Like that. Give her like that. If you bring it up too much like that, it looks like she's got a twitch. So you don't want to bring it up too, just a little bit. There we go, just like that. And actually, we'll go ahead and just color this whole eye in. We'll do that for both sides, and then we'll cut it out with an eraser. I'll take an eraser in here. I can cut pieces of it out like this to give the eye the shine of the eye. Like that. Okay, we'll come down here like this for the nose. The nose should have a little bit more in the center of the bridge. And that gives us a little bit more definition there. Yeah, she's a little on the crazy side. That's why, like I said, one of the conventions of manga is that she's got fangs. That's a manga convention of crazy. Now, right here, I'll find what we call the philtrum. This part right here, that divots in for your lips. And I didn't define it well, so I'm going to redefine it there. And that's called the philtrum, and that's that divot right in there in the lips. So give her just a little bit there. Since she's smiling, we give her smile lines, but we've got to be very careful. Too many smile lines, too many lines at all, and it gives the impression of age. So you have to be careful the number of lines that you put in a face. Now, this is absolutely manga convention. It is not the same ruling on American comics. American comics are a completely different critter with different rules. So, this is the shadow underneath her bottom lip. So, you go through here. Now, I've made her have high cheekbones because that also helps make her. I don't know why. When I read the particular character, she just seemed very high cheekbony to me. I don't know. I don't think the author at any point actually said that she had high cheekbones. She just seemed like that was the thing we wanted to do. So we had high cheekbones. Now, I like the fact that her hair is just as crazy as she is. So I'm going to keep putting in curls like this where her hair is being remarkably unruly. Right? And you can see by how zoomed in I am, it's very important to do your blue line. Because though I can get kind of an idea of where I am on this drawing, I'm easily lost. And I know I'm in the hair somewhere, but I'm not sure where. And I'm not sure whether this is helmet, at which time we want to be absolutely straight and rigid, or if it's hair, at which time we have to be fluid and sort of have flippy things. And I think that this is, sort of a little bit on that crazy zone area there. So I'll zoom out and take a look. Without the blue line, that's what we're looking at. And it actually looks great, right? She looks remarkably crazy, sufficiently crazy. So we'll come back in here. We'll apparently have the eraser going. All right, like that. I'll put this bead in. Like so. And you'll notice that I'm putting sort of a half crescent underneath it. And that's because we're looking at the underside of these beads. So we want to be able to see the hair going into the beads. She's putting the hair into the beads and sort of striping them through that. And so you're going to want to show the underside, the opening on the underside of these beads where the hair has gone in. Here and here, like so. There we go. I feel like that's somewhat of an understatement, though, Brent, that it's a little on the crazy side. It's supposed to be a lot on the crazy. As the antagonist of this scene, she's written to the point where she is violently crazed. There we go. So we're kind of pulling the hair around there like that. I like that. That looks great. So now we'll put this through like so. We'll come around the edge of this helmet, right up into here. Grab the front. And I'm going to bow this in a little. Give it just a little bit of flare. I've been flaring out the bottom of this helmet a lot, and I feel like I want to kind of flare it the other direction too while we're at it. We'll put this on here. Make it look like it's got some kind of connector, which allows you to, screw it in or adjust it, or something has to be happening with that connector. And I want this to stick down. It's a thing she can pull. Oh no, you can't find a patch. And you know how many patch cables there are? I mean, there's just so many patch cables for computers. My kid was asking me the other night why they don't have just a USB HDMI cable. You know, why isn't there just a combined USB HDMI cable? And I was like, though that sounds awesome, there's a reason why we don't do that. Two different types of data, you'd be wasting a lot of space on it. But, and I can understand why there isn't a USB HDMI, but I also, on that same token, kind of wonder why we don't have there we go. This must drive her crazy. This one lone curly hair. This is why she's crazy. Is this hair right here. That one. This is the thing. Now, we have another thing that you and I all, anybody who watches my show, you know what I'm about to talk about here. I've got a converging tangent. These two lines converge. So I'm going to have to move this line over to get it out of the way because it confuses the audience as to which line is going where. So got rid of the converging tangent. It's looking really good. Brent, you're good, man. You are working at this moment, and there is nothing wrong with that. I appreciate you just watching whenever you can. And Blaine, I appreciate you being here today, too. Hope you haven't fallen asleep. Although, I can't rightfully blame you if you did. I'd fall asleep. The number of times that I watched a launch over there in the middle of the night, and I'm like, I'm going to have to get us this launch. But I was very religious about launches. I missed watching Columbia return from orbit and started to get kind of superstitious because that was the only one I had missed. I'm glad, actually. That was the only one I had missed was Columbia coming back from orbit, and it burned up on reentry. And so I got very superstitious about shuttle returns for a while there. Okay. We got to be careful coming in here because we want to be able to, we can't do what I just did. So we want to come in, and you don't want to draw too high up here like this, because if you do, we're defining too much of that muscle. She's got a lot of muscle on this tricep right through here, and her bicep, which is defined. But like I had said yesterday, women carry fat all over their body. So even when you define something like a serious muscle group, like a bicep or a tricep on the back side, with women, you still want to make them rounded, because otherwise it's going to look too masculine, and our brains will register it as a masculine thing. So I'm going to have to kill this line because it's defining too much. And come around like that. We can still define the forward part of her bicep like this, and we can give the bulge of the tricep from the back. But then I would have squared it off. I would have squared this more like that, and it would have registered to everybody here that this was a male. Since it's a woman, we want to round that bicep. And we want to give less arm than I actually put here, right? So we're going to come in like this, right? And then we'll come back around. All of our muscles and muscle groups end on the elbow eye before the elbow on either side. So it's why in martial arts, when, yeah, we'll need some more depth, but it's why in martial arts, we hit with the elbow. This is just bone right here. There is nothing there but bone because all the muscle groups have tied up here or here. So we're going to come out of the end of these muscle groups in a rounded sort of ascent to the elbow and then come back around to the underside like so. Right? And then we'll come up and clean this up because that got messy quick. Right? There you go. Come back around. We don't need to be that pointy though. I have made it too pointy. Getting so caught up in the muscle groups. Now we'll look back at it, and she has a lot more muscle going on now. Well, actually, that's an interesting thing about the hormone replacements with transgendered people. They actually, the bodies reconfigure. It is amazing. And it's one of the fascinating things. I have some very tolerant friends because I keep asking these really weird questions, but they put up with it. It's a good thing. They're very nice to me. But other things like we're dealing with a deltoid here. This is the deltoid. That's this shoulder, or the shoulder muscle. That's this big muscle that goes across your entire shoulder. The deltoid is tied to your arm between the bicep and the tricep. So it ties in right here. And it comes up and over and goes into the trapezius, which is across this part here. With women, that's not defined as much as it is with men. But yeah, that's actually one of the things transgendered people have is once they start taking the hormone replacement, it redistributes where fat goes. I find that amazing, fascinating. It's interesting how much influence testosterone and estrogen has over our bodies. But we don't want to add too much here. If we add too much, she starts to look male, right? So we can't add too much. In fact, it's starting to look a little too much already. We'll have to see. I might add some jewelry of some sort on the arm, but I'm trying to kind of make the arm diminish the arm because though she is strong, she's not a bodybuilder. I mean, she's a pirate, you know? So, all right, here we go into the hand, coming around like this. The hand, when we look at this, the hand is like this, but we're coming up from the bottom. So we can see that the line that goes along here is not quite folding over. So I'm going to take that back like that and move it around. My friends are friends. That's all I got to say. Okay, so I'm going to use, when I come in here, I'm going to use specifically the line tool and not actually make a point there. There we go. We'll use the line tool for this. And that way I can get really straight lines for this gun. We're going to have to, right, she's more sinewy. Exactly. So what we're doing is everywhere where I think I've got a straight line on this gun, I'm going to use my line tool for it. That'll at least settle down some of the weirds. We'll get a lot of weirds. Then we'll just take from here, come back around like so. Right, and we can come through here. Probably go through here again with.
It's time to take a quick break.
Oh, it's break time. So says the computer. All right. So we usually, at about the halfway point, we stand up. Everybody should stand up. Let's stand up. Oh my goodness. You don't need to stand up, Blaine, because you're probably already sitting down getting ready to go to sleep. We should stretch. Oh, man. Okay. And then we walk around a little bit. Walk around a little bit. Walk over here. It's a beautiful day. I mean, it's slightly overcast, but it's not that bad. Shake out your hands. All right. Yes, let's enjoy break time together with me. Oh, man. It wouldn't be so bad. We wouldn't make fun of them, except that they have the opportunity to get people who speak. We've got a guest room. We totally have a guest room. You can just stay in the guest room. All you got to do. And you want to talk about photo safaris? Woo, we got some good stuff here too. Colorado is a lovely state. Okay. The only problem with the line tool is that we won't see expression. And when we talk about expression with line, that's the ability for a line to do that, right? That's an expression of line. And you can see I've been varying, and this what happens is with my pen, the more pressure I apply to the pen, the more that I have expressed that. Yeah, if you come here with Keiko, that's great. I think that's a wonderful idea. She needs to visit here too. I hope she's doing okay. I mean, I heard yesterday about, or from our little guest family, and he was saying you guys still don't have vaccines running yet there quite well. You don't have it operating. And I know that puts your wife in significant harm's way. She's one of the ones who are on the front line. Excellent. Glad to hear that. I'm shocked that you guys made it through this entire thing without her getting COVID. I'm always shocked when frontline workers don't, because I try not to put, by the way, Blaine, if you're wondering, I'm being cagey and intentionally because I try not to put people's personal information out on the web for everybody to see. Although, technically speaking, I think it's just Brent and you and me. And we've got 3 of us, so there's somebody else out there who's not talking, but there's only 3 people on this show, so, or 4 people, I guess, if you count myself. 5 if you find George somewhere, but I think George has decided to go lay down and take a nap somewhere, as only cats can do. But yeah, anyway, I'm glad to hear that she got her vaccine. So, anyway, that is good, and I assume that's good. Like I said, I've been shocked. She's not the only friend of mine that I've got. Like 5 or 6 of my friends are nurses or doctors or that kind of in that field, and I've been amazed at the diligence and the work that they put into not catching this thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing all over the place, is that has a lot to do with the high risk folks. being isolated and put into a different location. But also, you guys are doing a much better job of managing COVID than we are. We went through this entire period of sort of not, I don't know if I'd call it like a social denial, but it was kind of like a social denial here. Whereas, I mean, obviously, in Japan, we were already adjusted and acclimated to the idea of wearing masks and just staying socially distant, which I had learned as a and that's true. That's true. Yeah. Well, you know what all the vaccine means for you, Blaine, is that suddenly you're going to just have to get back on the Chuo and the Yamanote and all of those things. You'll just be stuck back in the trains, being packed like sardines. So there is that. Man, I did everything in my power to stay off of the Yamanote and the Chuo during rush hour. Everything in my power. It made me so mad when the company said, "You don't have a choice. You're going to have to come downtown for this meeting." I'm like, dang it. Worked so hard to get off those trains. Oh, hey, that's kind of cool. I had wondered about that as well. I mean, obviously, I work from home. And I have worked from home since about 2013. And so this didn't affect me that much at all, with the exception of my photography business, where obviously I don't go into houses and stuff like that right now until this is settled in. But it is interesting that I think a lot of the business culture is going to change a lot as time goes on. Right? And I think that that's fascinating. Yes. Yes, although Japan is somewhat famous for the trains during rush hour. And Blaine and I talk about our super foreigner power because yeah, that's the thing. That's kind of why I do this. You guys are my office mates in a way. You know, otherwise, frankly, art is a lonely job, you know. I was saying that I have a very katana-esque scimitar she's got going on here, which I find particularly funny. I didn't mean to make it a katana, but I know katanas, so it's like all of my swords end up looking like katanas ultimately. I'm just making the wrapping crappy so that it doesn't actually look like a katana. However, there is a certain amount of humor to the fact that all of my swords end up being katanas. In the end, they're always katanas. It is my nature. Okay, not following the curve of... Right? It's a hybrid. It's a hybrid scimitar. This is future steampunk, so it might have ultimately, or it might have been a katana at one point. You need to come back around the other direction here. So here is where I often talk about the power of one line. These lines right here are going the wrong way. And what's happening is they are indicating that this thing, which should be coming this way, it makes it look like it's changing angle on us, or changing angle this way. So we want to go back through and realign these lines so that they look like they're going around it like this. Everything that comic artists do, be they manga artists or American comic artists, all of these are effectively small visual illusions. Because we're just taking one line. And yeah, I know. Those are the weapons I know best. I know a katana really well. So it's like every time I do any sword, I end up doing katanas because I know them so well. It's a comfortable weapon for me, which seems strange, but Blaine knows I'm a martial artist, and I always will be. Always a martial artist. Once a martial artist, always a martial artist. That never leaves. And yes, I do still practice Kyudo, but just not as much. We went through a time where money was really tight and Kyudo was very and you know, I've damaged a number of arrows over the years, and I need to replace them. And in replacing them, I just need to send you down to Tokyo at some point in time, Blaine, and say, I need these arrows or whatever, if you'd be willing to do that. But in order to do that, I need to be able to send you 6 mon or something like that, because arrows are not cheap. There's been sort of a slowdown as we've kind of to the out of money sort of situation, but things are getting better now, so you may actually get that call at some point here. Hey Blaine, there's this Kyudo shop. It's in, oh gosh, I can't even remember what ward it's in. And it wouldn't be any hurry, of course. It's just when you get around to it. Maybe what'll happen is you'll come this way at some point, and when you do, I'll say, since you're heading this way, would you please? Because I bent my practice arrow. That one's the one that really gets me. The one that doesn't have any fletching. That one got bent, and I'm aggravated about that. Oh yeah, if we do this, it's going to be 6 months or a year from now anyway. I'm not that worried. I still have one complete flight that's ready to go. But my auxiliary flight now, which was my primary flight, is 4 arrows. Sensei passed away already, and that's kind of sad. And I'm still in touch with a couple of the other classmates. But it's hard. I'm not getting the information on what happened to my dojo. I don't know what happened to my dojo. They're being cagey, which means I think something bad has happened to our dojo, and that's sad. Since Sensei passed, I don't think anybody's carried the dojo on, and I think that's sad too. So I don't know. I will let you know, my friend. I will let you know. One of the best parts about this is you're a fellow martial artist too, so you understand. It's when I try to get Masa to do it, it's a little bit weirder because he's happy to do it as well, but then I'm like, I don't, yeah, like, because it's like, I don't know if he would understand. And even though I know you're not a Kyudoka, you at least, there's a culture sort of with all the martial artists, we all kind of have, it's like a brotherhood. And so it's like, I at least understand that it'll get done at some point. Not to knock Masa at all. He's a wonderful guy. He and I were talking yesterday. He called last night to give me an update on the kiddo. And we were talking about the events that happened here in Colorado. And that's an interesting thing to discuss with, with other people. A different view, very different view. Someday, Blaine, we could talk about that too. That's another thing you would have a very different view on. Well, that will definitely happen. Somewhere along the line, we're going to end up over there hanging out with you guys. And you and Mom hit it off just fine. It'd be great. I think that's a brilliant idea. I think you two would get along famously. He's a good guy. So, okay, we're putting in, she's got a robotic hand. Oops. There we go, like that. If you're wondering, my drawing monitor here has a series of buttons on either side. So on this side over here, it's got a series of buttons and a series of buttons over there that I can map to certain commands. For example, I have one button that's mapped to Control Z so that I can immediately undo something. I have one button mapped to pen so that it'll go to the pen, and then one button mapped to eraser so it'll go to the eraser. So I can switch back and forth instantly to that. I also have a button mapped to the space bar so that I can grab. And I have a button mapped to the shift key for alternate operations and things like that. And then zoom in and zoom out. Now, the buttons are just black buttons on my black monitor. And so I took a gold pen and I wrote on the side of my monitor what all the buttons do, because they're really hard to tell whether you're going for the right thing or not. And that'll cycle through all of my pens if I do it that way. So, okay, coming up around here, we're putting in, she's got a sash she's wearing. So I'm putting the sash in, and I'm going to go on ahead and put in some heavier pen work in here to give just a little bit more drama and make it strike out a little bit more. And the sash goes this way. She has it tied this way, and then it goes this way, and then it comes down on one side. All right, so we'll come down over here. There we go. When you do folds in fabric, you want to think about the way that it's going, because it's going like this. That's how fabric folds. So you just run the lines this, and you get kind of an idea of what the fabric will look like that. All right, so that's what we've got going on here. But we do need to define up here where this fabric leaves going that way, and where it folds going this way, or it folds going that way. So we just lead that. You mean hard drives, Brent? Are you talking about hard drive? For some reason, whenever anybody says 3.5 inch, I always think of floppies because I'm ancient. I mean, I can always use floppy or use hard drives, certainly. Got any space for one, though? I appreciate that, though. I appreciate you thinking of me, but I don't think I've got this in this box. This guy over here, I don't think he's got any. I already had to, right? We're ancient. 3D printing the save icon. Blaine, that's actually, I keep thinking about that with my kiddo. Because I keep thinking about how my kiddo is going to think that that if we ever do find my box of floppy disks downstairs in the basement, he's going to think they're all 3D printed save icons. Because, I mean, really, nobody remembers that anymore from their generation. And heck, my niece doesn't even get that. She looks at me like I'm an alien whenever I... Okay. All right. So... there we go. I'll put the scimitar like this. Yeah, dial a number. Really? You're using 3.5 floppies through 2012? Props, man. All right, we're getting there. Now, if you look at the actual image here, it looks a lot... I mean, she's certainly not... You know, she's coming together very well here. I just need this mechanical arm. The mechanical arm, I want to have pieces of which come in like this. There we go. Yes, but Blaine, having lived there and having had to still fax things when I was there, I actually, and them being genuinely perplexed when I said I wanted them to email me stuff, I actually find it easier to believe. I don't know what it is about Japan. The most like forward advanced thinking country can have the most ridiculously stuck in the firmly in the 80s concepts sometimes, and it's so funny. They're like the most bizarre dichotomy. Because, of course, you go to Akihabara and, right, fax machines. The country is still completely cash operating. They don't really take credit cards anywhere. Of course, this was 10 years ago, but yeah, it's because the country is run by old men. More true than it needs to be. Yeah, it was so funny. I was like, you guys are going to fax me something? So I had to set up my computer to receive faxes. It's the weirdest thing I had ever done in my life. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, like here, we will go 6 or 8 months without any cash at all in this household. There's just no need. So it's very strange. We went over there and it was like, everything was cash based, which I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense. One of the major reasons we run credit cards so much. Yeah. Yeah, I mean and the reason we use credit cards so much over here is because if steals your money, you just cancel the card, and so that's you still, and the banks are insured and all of that stuff, so it makes sense. And in Japan, crime is actually very minimal, comparatively speaking. My wife left her purse once on the train with all of her money in it, with all of her stuff and she found it at the Tsukuba station with a note that said, "This all looks like it's very important and valuable. You should take that." And everything was in there. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, no system is perfect. I mean, I'm certainly not going to say that our system is perfect, but I think the fact that there's a higher crime rate here than in Japan plays a bigger part. In in why we have been moving away from a cash society, and why Japan hasn't moved away from the cash or moved to a cashless society. Yeah. Well, that was something I looked up on the news. Japan has 300 or so homicides a year. We have 15,000. That's a major difference. That's a bummer to put on the show, but it is, something to think about. It is a big difference between the two cultures. And Japanese news reflects that. You can really see when a homicide has happened, it's a big deal. It's like very strange. It's a fascinating difference. But I do like the fact that in Japan, it's just, you don't worry about losing your wallet. You don't worry about getting your wallet lifted. Right? Man, the Yakuza, though. There we go. Giving her some filigree on her mechanical arm. I've received 100 messages. The line from the forefinger to the thumb. Maybe. Let's take a look. There we go. It looks pretty solid to me. I think his other fingers might be stubby. I'm actually kind of feeling like, I feel like this is fine. It's these guys that are kind of off. And they need to be curved a little bit, like so. There we go. There we go, just like that. Maybe. So we started out, Blaine, with a 3D model on this. Maybe you're right. I mean, looking at this, I don't know. Let's see. Let's bring it back and see what happens. Because I can bring this up to there. Yeah, that looks better. I agree. I agree. There we go. More like that. Yeah. More like that, maybe. There we go. That's better. I agree. Okay. Cool. Just not a lot of definition there. We don't need it. Look at us being 100 posts in. Very talkative group today. Thank you, guys. What I think is funny is over on my right side here, I've got a second control panel for all of the dialogue going on here. And it tells me that I can tweet that. Like, okay. I mean, I don't mind tweeting that. I think that actually is something I might do anyway. But it's a complicated process, and I wish they'd make that easier. All right. There we go. Just folding in that fabric a little. Right there. There's a lot of this is just kind of I'm making the lines on him heavier because he's closer to us. You too. I think it's not just the classic pirate, right? I think that she's got much more of a a different vibe going for her. Okay, and too many lines over there on the blue line because I think I'm missing the actual line of his arm. Maybe not, though. I don't think it did that, though. I feel like it does that. It needs to do that. And then we have converging tangent with his vest. So his vest needs to turn around under, otherwise we will think that it's intentionally going that way. Alrighty. Doing good. We're moving along just fine. We have about 30 minutes left in the show, and I think we'll be able to finish the inking today. That means I can do the coloring tonight or tomorrow, because it doesn't take a lot of time to put in grayscale coloring. The thing it takes the most time for all of this stuff is inking and the penciling. So yeah, exactly. That was one of the things that Ron had sold me on this project. He's like, nobody's seen these books yet. This is a new series that they're publishing. So he's like, you can make the aesthetic yourself and you can design it yourself. Nobody's seen it yet. So this is all on, you're open to do whatever you need to do. I thought, oh, that's kind of fun. All right. He didn't take long to ink, but I knew he wouldn't. So there we go. Now we're going to come up here and finish the helmet off. In a previous conflict before this picture, she had confronted somebody else who tried to shoot her in the head. And the helmet managed to take the brunt of the damage, but it shattered her goggles. And I'm trying to, maybe I should have these things be bent. I'm not sure. In fact, I think I will. Because it had goggles. There we go. That's part of the story, is that this particular character got her goggles broken. So we're going to just break. Here we go. And that makes that easy. I've got 2 ideas for the cover that I'm going to have to sketch out next week. And that's going to be our job next week. We're going to go into the cover on both of these guys. So Blaine, I have been working on this project for a while, and I've been enjoying doing this project, and I was very excited because just before I went to Texas to see about my dad, Ron contacted me and said, "Hey, would you want to give the cover a shot?" That's a big deal. I mean, so these guys this is the 20th or 21st book that they're putting out here with this. So this is not, some newbie fly by night. And me having to do the covers, that's a big deal. I'm really kind of amazed and honored, honestly. The inside work, hey, it's not a big deal, but the outside work, the cover, that's what sells the book. So we're going to be doing some sketching on that next week. So that's an exciting thing in my world. As an artist, that's a big deal. It's also very intimidating. Just saying. I am remarkably intimidated by the idea of having to do this thing's cover. I'm excited and happy and very, very intimidated. So there's that. I'm sure I will do just fine. I'm not actually worried at all. But, we're all human beings. And there's not a whole lot you can do about, that feeling of, can I do this? Am I sure I can do this? But it really is technically my first cover, which is great. I've done a lot of interior work over the years, and I've done a lot of, but my painting skills have never been really up to snuff until recently. And it's only been recently that I've actually even been onto the idea of digital painting. And my digital painting is still very, very immature, and it's coming along, but we're still working on it. I still haven't put my digital painting out as a commission option yet. I mean, frankly, it takes me a long time to do digital painting. So, and I haven't really settled on a style yet. So there's a little bit of that going on. It is. It really is. That is probably the best quote right there, Blaine, ever. Because it is. Like, I suffer from imposter syndrome a lot. I'm obviously cheating, and I'm obviously not doing the right thing, especially when I shortcut by using 3D models to start things. That really makes me feel like, am I really drawing this? Am I actually doing this? Or did I just trace a 3D model? But the truth is, there's a lot of work, as we've seen by what I've been doing here on this. There's a lot of work that goes into this that has changed and altered from the point where it was the original 3D drawing. Wow, we're coming along nice. Let's do this rope. But then you have the other side, which is, oh yes, I am the awesomest artist ever. And you realize you really aren't. And that is such a statement. Good job. I like that. Braids are always sort of this ongoing sort of effect where we're coming out of the rope in that way. Yeah, I like where this is going. Yes, I can imagine that. It's funny how that is, and I know for a fact that you're a hell of a coder. And it's so funny that we all do it. All of us do it. Excuse me. I really like where this rope is finally out of the scene. There we go. Then we go back through and just kind of polish it up a little. And that's a rope, chain, something, doesn't really matter. It is. Boo, coders. You're only saying that, Brent, because you're the techie guy. You have to deal with coders' screwed up stuff. Blaine doesn't do a bad job with coding, though. He does a really good job with coding. Clean code. Yep. You deal with the other side of that problem all the time. Good news is that odds are good you won't ever have to deal with Blaine's code. Like I said, he does a pretty good job of solid code, though. All right. We are almost out of here, guys. Give this some streaks that kind of make it look like it's got wood going for it. There we go. We've got a little bit of one piece that needs to be fixed right there. All right, let's take a look at this piece. And now we'll check to see what it looks like because I've got missing pieces there. I can see that. But in general, we're looking pretty solid. Put some weight in this. I'm having problems here. Get a little closer. Don't be shy. Yep. And just clean this up. There. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can't click on the URL on this side, but I can click on the URL on that side. So okay. The other thing I'm noticing is I have no definition as to what's going on in here. So now that we are done with the blue line, and by the way, we are completely done now with the blue line. Yay! Look at us. We've got about 10 minutes left in the show. The breach of the gun might be... Yeah, we've got definitely some definition problems here that I'm feeling like we're... Because it does look like the breach of the gun is open. But I also feel like she's missing something to indicate her hair here. Like this. Right? Something to kind of just say that there's hair here and gives sort of definition to this side of her neck without actually taking that out. Because we actually kind of want to do that. There we go. The gun doesn't actually have a breech, so it's a plasma weapon. So what I will do is add graphics of some sort here. So that it looks certainly intentional. It's a space age gun. There we go. There. Yeah, well, it's a tough perspective. So next thing we'll do is hit the save button. That's an important thing. Make sure you save often and save regularly. Wouldn't it suck if we went through all of this only to have not saved? Yeah, maybe a site needs to be in that gap. You're right. Let's do something, because if that's bothering you, it'll bother somebody else. My anime influence is so showing here. There we go. Right. I'm glad you did that. Looks like we're still on the same layer. All is good. In fact, we will go on ahead and double check that everything over here is solid. Looks good. All right. no idea what language you're talking. Okay. I'm still by this. Not bothered by where that is relative to there. I just feel like it'd be here. Take a look. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. Oh, yeah. So do you call it GIT or do you call it GET? I'm always curious about these things. Get out of there. Get your code out of there. These are all the things that always fascinate me, though. Yep, that's what I figured. You stupid git. There we go. Look at it from a distance. All right. Feeling pretty good about this, actually. Looks pretty good. I do like the little sight. So that's another one of those things. It's interesting because Southern raised, there's a difference between git and get. And you can hear it. It's like pen and pin. You know, you can definitely hear the difference between those two in certain parts of the nation. In certain parts, they sound the same. So to me, it would be the same thing as, she looks like she only has 3 fingers. She has 4 on her, right hand and 1 thumb, but her left hand, it specifically says she's got 3 mechanical claws and an opposable thumb. So her left hand should only have 3. The illustration or the author specifically declared that. So and yes, that's the other thing. Okay, I think I'm going to call this at this point time done. You'll see the final version probably tomorrow or the next day or next week. We may start next week up with this guy. But for right now, I think I'm feeling very confident about this. It looks solid to me. I'll put in some grayscale toning to make it just kind of have some depth and dynamic to it. And this guy will be done. And out the door will be the end of all of my internal illustrations for Airship 27. So there were 8 pictures in this particular book. And this is the 8th one. And I like it too. I think it's kind of fun and interesting, and it's going to be a good addition to the book. So there are 8 internal illustrations for this book, which is called the Silver Pentacle, and I think she's starting a series, which may mean that I might be working on more of these as time goes on. We'll have to see. But yeah, the pictures were fun. They were a lot of fun to do. So this was kind of cool. And it's a very different and interesting way, or interesting thing that I've gotten into. I never thought about doing internal illustrations in a prose book before. I've done maps and I've done graphs and things like that. And in like role-playing books, I would do the little, character illustrations that show, here's a troll doing this thing, or, here's a merman. I'm glad to have had you with me here, Blaine. So I appreciate you hanging with me. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, we're about 4 minutes to the end, and that puts you at 4 minutes to 2 a.m. But I guess if you're working from home, it's not like the commute is difficult in the morning, which I actually have discovered too. I can work right up till about 1 or 2 a.m. and then I will go to sleep and then get up with the kiddo to get him when he was remote and working from here. Then, he and I could get up at... It is Star Trek night, so we will be rolling Star Trek tonight. I should probably tell my wife that. Because I don't think she knows that. So, Blaine, we play Star Trek Adventures, which is a role-playing game. And we'll be doing that tonight at, I think we start at 6 o'clock, 6:30. So, flex time is awesome. That's pretty cool. So, we'll be doing that. You found... okay, so YT, YouTube channel. Gotcha. Trek culture. Huh. It's one of those things. I'm on about 60 zillion Trek Reddits. I swear. We chat all the time. We have nothing better to do than to talk about Star Trek, apparently. So, and it's 6:30 soft, 7:30 or 7 o'clock is a hard start. So that's mountain time, which hopefully won't be Mountain Standard Daylight whatever time. We can get over that. Okay, guys, so we're coming up on the end of the show. Until I figure out what's going on, I apologize, but my end credits don't have music. But Blaine, you're in it, at least. So are you, Brent. Both of you guys are in the end credits, so that's kind of cool. And so is George, who's, George. So if you want to join me again, I'll be here every day from at the same time, 12 midnight to 2 a.m. Japan time, which is kind of a thing. For a while there, we did have a young lady coming in from the UK, and she was joining us. Yeah, I will, Blaine. We can get together on Skype and chat at some point. We should do that. Or Zoom or whatever, and just do our normal catch up, check up everything, and make sure everything's okay on both of our worlds. I've got a lot more to talk about the family, the Massa's family, which I don't really want to put out on the broadcast of the universe, but I can chat with you about. So cool. So anyway, I will see all of you guys tomorrow. For Brent, we should have Pepper on tomorrow, which will be great. Pepper and I will check up on all of our work that we've done over the week, and that'll be cool. And then we will move into next week, where we will do the illustration or the cover work for this stuff. So, okay. And it was good to see you guys. Good to see you, Blaine. Good to see you, Brent. And I'll see you tomorrow. Pretty sure I'll see you tomorrow, Brent. And maybe I'll see you tomorrow, too, Blaine. And to everyone else who joined me on this one, thank you for joining me. And I will see you later. And remember to keep your eyes on the stars. Bye-bye.